Would it be any different if we have a live watch party episode on Catfish on Ice and it to be exactly like what's happening right now between the Minnesota Wild and the Nashville Predators? Every time we do watch-alongs, now we call them watch parties on Catfish on Ice. We've been doing these throughout our entire existence, and I don't know what's going on in this universe, but anytime we decide to do one of these, it ends up being a really wacky and crazy time watching these Preds. But then again, you know what? That's kind of become the norm with this team. But anyway, it's great to see everybody live. We got comments pouring in. They were pouring in before I even hit live. So I'm going to get to all of you guys. I got some old friends in here. Of course, Johnny is in here, and I'm going to get to his comments. I'm going to get it to Mike Twitter and OG, who's been watching this show for a long time. Appreciate you, Mike Twitter. Appreciate you, Johnny. And any newcomers that hop in, I enjoy you guys as well. I can't wait to hear from you all. I threw it out there on X, on my account. Come join us live on YouTube. And this is what we call it. We call it a watch party for a reason. It's like we're all in one room together right now watching this crazy game. So I'm going to catch up to those comments, everybody. This is Chad Minton, your host, with co-host Max Greenberg and Boyd Ferris joining me to watch. We just watched the first period. Buckle your chin straps up, as they like to say. And I got to update the bottom score bug there already. It's not 3-2. It's 3-3 now. But I'll do that later. But everyone knows that was a crazy first period. A lot of you know how these watch party episodes work. We're watching the game live right now. We're going to react to it. We're going to fill in topics along the way. There's no shortage of topics right now going on with this Preds team, as you know.
Yeah, nothing at all happening in the NHL this week.
Yeah, it's so boring right now. It's so boring. Like, can we just get to baseball season already? All right, I'm kidding. But also, when that last goal got scored there by Eric Holla to close out that period, I think John Hines lost the last living hair on his scalp. And I can make bald jokes because I'm also bald. And that dude looked up at the screen, and I'm like, I think whatever hair he had left is now officially gone on his head, because he was like, what just happened? I mean, a roller coaster doesn't even do it justice. So we're going to break down that first period. We're going to talk about trade deadline stuff going on right now. We're going to talk about the Olympics coming up. I want to get into the most important players after the trade deadline dust settles, and that's going to be a really hard topic to discuss because we don't even know who is going to be gone. Of course, the elephant in the room, we got to talk about Barry Trotz making this very shocking decision to step down. But, of course, he's going to keep this role through the trade deadline. And we got to discuss all the details about that. So we've got plenty of filler content during this watch party when things are not happening. But judging by that first period, we're going to have a hard time, gentlemen, getting in all that talk because we're going to be too busy watching this game, which every 30 seconds something's happening. But Max, Boyd, how are you guys doing? I'm really excited to have you guys joining us tonight.
Yeah, pretty good. Just trying to wrap my head around what just happened, but I'm pretty good.
Fair enough. How about you, Boyd? How you doing, man?
I mean, and that's coming off the heels of Monday, which, wow. I mean, I will tell you, I mean, and I know I put this at once or twice on Twitter, but like after the second goal by O'Reilly, you know, you could feel it in the building. Like it was just the crowd was like, come on, just give us something, and we are going to get into this thing.
That goal by Forsberg, there was kind of that feeling of like, maybe it's possible.
Here it is. Here it goes. Yeah. And man, by the time Stamkos tied it on the wraparound in the third period, I mean, the building was going absolutely crazy.
Electric. And I was in there too, so I could attest. It was insane.
Yeah, it was the loudest I've heard Bridgestone in quite a while. And I would imagine, I mean, obviously not there tonight, but I would imagine on the Stamkos goal and again on the Holla goal, I bet it was pretty rocking.
It was really cool to see Stamkos's comments after that game, where he said very clearly, that's the loudest I've heard this crowd, and he acknowledged that they've got to get off to better starts. They didn't do that tonight, but there he goes, 3-3. But yeah, I mean, that was a cool thing hearing that from a Hall of Famer. He didn't have to say that. I took that as very genuine when he said that in the post game interview, and it's just crazy the situation we find ourselves in with everything going on, with Barry Trotz, making this decision, but also with the trade deadline, with all these players being shopped. I mean, I can't recall ever a time, maybe Boyd or Max, one of you guys can say, oh, there was this one year when it was a lot more players, but I can't recall a time when this many players were legitimately a possibility to be traded. There's always buzz. There's always like, oh, this guy might be traded. But I mean, like, legitimate. Like, you can make an argument for such a large chunk of this roster right now, this current starting lineup, to possibly be traded, to the point where no one's really off the table. I mean, yeah, Philip Forsberg, Roman Josi, UC Saros, we always hear about those guys. Yeah, they're off the table, but still, like, who knows? I mean, really, who knows? And we've really got to talk about how much we think the trade deadline with Barry Trotz stepping down, do we think it changes anything? Do we think it's status quo? Nothing's going to change. I mean, I have some thoughts about that we can save, but we got to definitely get back to that. And but real quick, I do want to just give a shout out. We are brought to you by DraftKings and the Pick 6 app. We will tell you about that current offer with DraftKings and their new Pick 6 app. It's a lot of fun that I invite everyone to check out, especially with I got to get to this comment, which I still have on the screen here, from Monster Jam Garrett on YouTube. Said, this team takes years off my life. Yep, but that's why we watch it. That's why we watch it. That's why we have fun and we love this team, right? But yeah, some YouTube commenters here are saying that there's weird resolutions. We have 2 feeds going. That is a new feature with StreamYard, the service we use, everybody, where they do one for the phone and they do one for the for YouTube. And I can see that on the other one, it is got our camera angles all way off. So that is.
I love that all of you were staring at my forehead on one of them. It's fantastic.
That is
all your fingers pretty front and center a few seconds ago, boy.
That is something, guys. I want everyone to know that we are still new to the streaming part, and definitely we're good at it. We've gotten better at it on YouTube, but whatever this new feature is, I am not sure what that is. So I'm going to watch the YouTube version, please, everybody. I don't know what that other version is. But yes, let's get to some other things here. Let's see. Yeah, a lot of good stuff going on there. First period reaction, guys. I'll give mine real quick. I'll go to Boyd, then we'll go to Max. My first period reaction is I've seen this rerun before. Also going into this game, it's the Minnesota Wild. They're a quality team. I mean, they got Stanley Cup aspirations. Not that the Predators don't either. Those players in that locker room still believe they can win a Stanley Cup. But I'm just saying, like, the Minnesota Wild are definitely a team that has those types of realistic aspirations. And so when you're going into this matchup on paper, I'm thinking like, okay, we got them right before Christmas. That was a really thrilling win that raised eyebrows for me when I saw that win right before Christmas on the road, toe-to-toe. Excellent game to watch. That was on national TV. It was on the ESPN Plus nationally televised. Great game. And so I wasn't sure how to feel about this game tonight, but they quickly fall behind 2-0 before we're even 60 seconds into the game, I think. Or 2 minutes into the game, I should say.
Yes.
And the first goal is the puck gets like lobbed like a punt in football over the defense. Boldy gets loose, puts it between the pads of Saros. Everyone's saying Saros should make that save. I agree. It wasn't the craziest, highly talented looking shot I've ever seen in my life. But at the same time, what's the defense doing? Why are you letting someone get on the other side of the ice, like flip the ice on you like that this early in the game? And then, of course, the third goal by the Wild is another one that is crazy, fluky, and weird.
That was ridiculousness.
Comedy of errors. Nick Blankenberg's trying to swat it out there. Saros makes the save. It goes flying up in the air. Blankenberg's trying to swat it out there with his glove. It ricochets off of McCarron, who's also trying to clear the net. And it just like fools UC Saros. But then you've got 2 power play goals from the Preds tonight. They look super connected on the power play tonight, gentlemen. So we got to talk about that. But that's kind of my overall thoughts is, hey, look, the Preds are a team that can flip it on and off. They are a very hot and cold type of team. You never know what you're going to get out of them, which is crazy when you look at their center depth right now. I mean, you look at the starting lineup tonight, no disrespect, but Ryan O'Reilly's your top line center. Eric Hall is your second line center. Tyson Jost is in a center spot in the starting lineup.
Crazy.
I mean, it's like, crazy, right? No disrespect to any of those guys, obviously, but like, it is what it is. Boyd, just give me your rundown, man, that first period.
I mean, at least they started the comeback sooner.
That's what I said. That's what we said on the Catfish account.
Well,
yeah.
You're only down by 1 at the end of the first on Monday, and everything happened in the second. So
that's true. Yeah, hopefully they learned that lesson to not show up at the beginning of the second period. But I think part of what we're seeing is a team that is obviously led by its veterans. They've been carrying the boat lately. Most specifically Yossi, Stamkos, and O'Reilly. Obviously, Forsberg's been chipping in more and more as we get a little further into the month of February. So we're bringing back Phil Brewery.
Yeah,
and and you're seeing as other areas of the team, particularly the defense and UC Saros in goal, just continue to struggle. You're seeing sort of you're seeing a little bit of what Barry Trotz wanted and what he thought when he said, "I'm bringing in winners." When he brought in some of these players, and they're somehow finding a way to stay in these games that they have no business really even being competitive in at sometimes. But they're figuring it out, and hopefully they'll start to solve some of the defensive issues, and maybe make things a little bit easier on Saros, where he can start to find his game back. But just another wild 20 minutes in the world of the Nashville Predators.
Yep, definitely. What about you, Max? To jump on what Boyd just said, Max, are you surprised by this? Did you when they fell behind 2-0? Be honest, Max. Were you here we go again? They're not going to be able to do this again tonight, or are you really not even that surprised anymore? When
I'm really not even that surprised, honestly. I looked at it, I'm like, all right, well, my first thought is oh God, another bad start. It keeps happening, and then I'm like, this is the Preds. These are the Preds of the past few weeks, months, whatever. Things could happen. And then when we scored that first goal, my reaction was just laughing. And then when we got that third goal, I'm just like, wow, it's insane. On a slightly more somber note, one thing I'll say, and I tweeted during the first period, I don't know that you guys saw, is it time to have a pretty uncomfortable conversation about UC Saros, though?
Yes, it is.
It's too many times where in the past few years, we've been talking about, man, he's got to play better this stretch. And yes, there's been stretches where he's gotten it back together. But again, he's you signed to be an all-world goaltender, guy who can pick up the slack. He's not done that enough. It feels like he can't really make a hard save now. Anytime there's a big opportunity, a prime opportunity, he's going to pick up a goal. And I want to read off something that Adam Vingan tweeted a little bit ago. And And I'm going by like the more indicative stats than just like goals against average and save percentage. And I'm comparing Saros and Justus Onanen. Shot quality against while on the ice per 60 minutes. Saros 3.16 and Onanen 2.79. So a little more for Saros, but slot shots on net against per 60. Saros 15.8. Onanen 14.6. Inner slot shots on net against per 60. 7.87 for Saros and 6.94 for Onanen. Goals saved above average per 60. 0.26 for Saros and 0.57 for Onanen. Saros isn't playing well right now.
He's certainly not to the level that he should be.
No.
I mean, he has definitely stolen some games this year, but he is nowhere near on the level.
Wait, are you seeing what I just saw?
4-3 Preds.
Well, I literally was reading off that while Luke Evangelista scores. Was it O'Reilly who fed him the puck?
It was O'Reilly to Stamkos, whose shot got a rebound, and then Evangelista put it in. I mean,
insane.
I mean, this team is cooking right now, and like I want to keep talking about what you're talking about, Max, because it's definitely worth talking about. Who could have ever?
Oh, never mind.
Who could have ever dreamt that this team would be possibly making the playoffs without stellar goaltending? I mean, and I'm a UC Saros guy. I always back the guy, but the dude is in a really bad rut right now. And, it's crazy to think how long the Preds can actually ride this, because my thing is, okay, so the Preds are winning 4-3, everybody. It's we just started this.
They almost just made it 5-3 about 4 different times in a row.
And from what I'm gathering,
I better update the score on the bottom again.
From what I can gather, I have the most updated game right now. So do I have to keep my mouth shut, or can I celebrate?
Let it out.
All right. Okay. I can spoil. Okay.
What is the game clock, Max, for you right now?
Just hit 18 on the dot.
I'm at 18:20.
Okay, so Max, you're like 7 seconds ahead of me, and you're 20 seconds ahead of Boyd. So just keep that in mind.
All right.
But Max, you can't hide your emotions. I mean, I'm watching you. I'm watching you on the screen. We've done this before.
Yeah, we have.
And I always know when something crazy happens.
That's
what makes it fun. But
that's
you're
only reactions for you.
I think you're only 7 seconds ahead of me right now, Max.
Hey, 7 seconds is all I need.
There you go. But
I'm not swinging at that pitch.
I've got to keep updating this all these little graphics and who scored what. I have a newfound respect for people who actually do this for like real websites and real media. Not that we're not real, but you get what I'm saying. So let me do this. We do not operate with a producer or anyone doing all this.
I was going to say that's the big difference. They have a producer sitting there doing it.
I'm the one doing this while also trying to talk and sound like I kind of know what I'm talking about.
And in this game especially, it's not easy.
But multitasking is a superpower I'm going to try to make work tonight. But this is what makes it fun. This really is. All right, there it is at the bottom. It's 4-3.
Hey.
Someone probably already scored again since then. But
no, surprisingly not.
I'm trying. But this is fun. Mike Twitter jumps in and says, "I got to hit the bang ASAP." Mike Twitter is watched. He definitely watched our first watch along. He's been with the podcast back in the early days. We were in the first 50, 100 episodes, whatever it was. And he used to always say bang in all capital letters when the Preds would score during a live watch along. So Mike, I'm so glad. He lives up in the New Jersey, New York area, and always a familiar face that I love to see. So happy to see you, Mike Twitter, and happy to see you too as well, Johnny, and all of you guys that are listening right now and jumping in and watching us. I hope you're not watching the feed right now where it's all of our chins and foreheads. But if so, I hope you still like what you're hearing. But yeah, as you can see, we're not professionals, guys. We learn as we go. And I don't know what that extra stream is. We have 2 streams going right now. I do know that. There is a normal YouTube version and Facebook version that are working right now. And they're normal, where you can see our full bodies and we don't look like aliens or like chins and weird heads and whatever. So
yeah, what I've seen is one of them has like a mobile device on the end of the stream name. That's the one that's the wonky feed that's set up for like TikTok videos or something.
Great. So now we have to we have to somehow persuade people to not watch one of the most popular apps ever, which is TikTok. Great. We're fighting.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what it's set up for, but it's
you don't have to say anything.
Watch the one that does not have the mobile device on the name. It's the best way I can put it.
Go back to old school YouTube, guys. Like, fire up the laptop and let's get back to the old school. But all right, so I'm watching it now. Let me update everybody here on my feed. We're at 16:30 in the second period. 4-3 Preds. They were down 2-0. They were down 3-1. Same old song and dance with this team, and there's so much time left. If you're a goalie lover and you love low scoring games, you need to probably shield your eyes right now. But there's a lot of good hockey, though. It's a lot of open ice. We've always kind of said that we don't like it when the Preds get in these style of games because it normally doesn't suit them well. Normally, they need to be playing in those forechecking type of games where like there's not a lot of open ice and not a lot of speed. Boyd, how do you feel about that? Do you think they're flipping the script on us? Do you think they shouldn't be considered that type of team, judging by how they can make these furious comebacks lately? What do you think about that, Boyd?
I mean, they've had an unbelievable ability to just flip a switch lately and turn into, a team that goes from seemingly out of nowhere, from completely incapable to utterly dominant. Like, and it's not even, maybe they're going to get one and it'll be close or. No, they flip the switch and score like 5 straight, and we've seen it a couple times lately. Unfortunately, St. Louis has been on the receiving end of a few of them, but
unfortunately,
yeah. and of course, everyone was like, "Oh, that was just the tank in full motion."
Yeah, well, not the tank wasn't in full motion when Stamkos put up 4 on him a little while ago. No. So, but it's really kind of fascinating to watch. I mean, they don't play the full 60 ever. They don't.
Super frustrating.
Frustrating.
Can't get around that.
Well, and it's not even like, every game has its runs, but when their play falls off, it falls off a cliff.
Yes.
And then when it picks back up, they shoot the moon. And there's seemingly very little in between. So it's really one of the most fascinating teams to watch right now because, a lot of people are probably looking at Nashville going, they're mid, they must be boring, they've got a negative goal differential. All of those things are true at times, except when it's really not.
Right. Let's answer a question.
They are giving up a ton of goals or scoring all of them.
Let's answer a question from Facebook from a newcomer here. Hey, Brandon, how you doing? This is Brandon from Facebook. And he says, I have a question. Is Aiden Fink still a Predator even though he is in college? Or can he be redrafted by another team? Great question. Great question, Brandon. And I think Boyd can jump in with that answer.
Yeah. So, yes, he is. So in effect, because he's in college, he can't sign a contract, but the Predators own his rights. So we own his rights basically until he graduates So basically until he graduates. If he turns pro before he graduates, then I believe Nashville has the exclusive ability to sign him to a contract. So he cannot be redrafted. And if he were to get through college and not sign a contract, he would become an unrestricted free agent.
All right. Yeah, it can get complicated, especially. I mean, it gets complicated for me. I mean, some like NHL is a special breed when it comes to drafting and when it comes to all the different leagues, when it comes to ELCs, all that stuff. It's not like some of the other major professional sports that we watch where it's just like one pathway and you're there. I mean, a player I think of, Boyd, and you could probably we don't have to go on a huge off ramp about this, but it is a watch party. And during our watch party episodes, this is what we do as we watch the game. Before I bring up this, I do want to update everyone on the stats real quick, individual stats in this game. It is 4-3 Preds right now. They've not only made the comeback, but there's so much time left. We haven't even officially reached the midway point yet of regulation. So there's that. And the Preds have already made the comeback, which Boyd said earlier in this episode to open. At least they started the comeback early this time. Perfect thing.
It doesn't look, I mean, fingers crossed, but we started the second period off well, like on Monday. So
yeah, there you go. So let's just give you a rundown real quick of the individual stats. Evangelista has a goal tonight. Forsberg has a goal and an assist tonight, so he is staying hot after he did go through an uncharacteristically cold stretch when it comes to scoring goals. But he is clearly woken up from that. Eric Hall has got a goal tonight, that was really nice for me to see. Another guy who's in that trade circulation that we will talk about as this watch party episode moves along. Jonathan Marchessault's got 2 assists. I like what he's doing tonight. He's not normally an assist guy. He's more of a shot output, and he needs to score goals to really stick out for you. But he's got a couple assists tonight. Ryan O'Reilly's got a couple assists tonight. Stamkos has gotten a goal and an assist on a power play goal, which put him 7th all time in power play goals in NHL history. And then on the defenseman side, you got a couple assists, one from Yossi and one from Perbix. UC Saros has 14 saves on 17 shots. He's trying to settle in right now, everybody. And he has kind of done that. Let's give him credit where credit's due. He is settling in, which is nice to see. I really did not want to see Saros chased again for a second straight game.
It does look like here in the second, the Predators defense has done a better job, keeping the net a little bit cleaner, not letting those odd man rushes come in. And at some point we need to have a conversation unrelated to the play on the ice, but the Car Shield commercials with Ryan O'Reilly, Pat Maroon, and Ric Flair. I really do not know what to do about that. I don't know how to feel. It's one of the strangest.
Well, you're going to see that. You're going to see that commercial a lot because that's what they like to do with these commercials. They just shove them down your throat to the point where like you're having nightmares about these commercials. But I want to get into also, guys, get back to what I was about to talk about before I updated everyone with these stats here. It is 4-3. I'm at 12 minutes left in the second period. Shots are 20-18 favoring the Preds. I want to talk about another player that fits into that mold where some fans might get a little confused on like, hey, where's this guy at? When's this guy ever going to come along? I'm hearing all these things, but when's he ever going to come here? And that's Igor Surin. He's over in the KHL lighting it up. And that is a very difficult league, arguably the second most difficult league in the world behind the NHL. It's arguable, but it's definitely a very difficult lead. And he is playing in his third, I believe, and Boyd, you can always jump in, or Max if I'm misspeaking, but I was looking at it yesterday. I think he's in his third, I think you consider full-time season in the KHL, or maybe it's his second. He's definitely not.
Yeah, it's his second like full KHL season. He did split some time.
There you go.
In his draft year between the KHL and the Russian junior or kind of minor league teams.
And I'm pretty sure he's got like 15 goals already this season. He's making impacts for his team, and he's really showing good signs. And I think some casual fans might be like a little confused. Like, how long is it going to take for him to get here? He is still very young, guys. So let's pump the brakes. But fans they're starting to hear about him, and they want to know, when's this guy going to actually make it over? Is he going to have to stop in Milwaukee for a little bit?
I would imagine so.
Well, here's my thing on that, and I'll answer my own question. I could be wrong, but I think that he is the type of player where, yes, he will initially stop in Milwaukee, but I don't think he's going to be there for very long because, arguably speaking, he's already getting just as good, if not better, experience right now in the KHL. You definitely would want to see him in North American hockey, in the American Hockey League for at least a little bit, maybe when he eventually gets over here. But I don't think it's going to be a quick stopover if he keeps trending the way he is in the KHL. He is a unique situation where he is over in the KHL right now, a league that doesn't get a ton of exposure from casual hockey fans, which is totally understandable. Who has time to follow the KHL unless you are a true diehard? But the guy's got 15 goals and 17 assists for 32 points in 45 games in the KHL right now as a guy who is 19 years old. He's going to be 20 in August. I mean, that you don't even have to be a hardcore follower of the KHL to say that is impressive.
Yeah, he looks like a really good one. And so a couple things of note. The team he is on in the KHL won the KHL championship last year. So he's been on, deep playoff championship run. His line mate on the other wing is none other than Alex Radulov.
Good nugget. That's a good nugget.
Yeah. Say what you want about how Radulov's tenure in Nashville ended. He's a heck of a player. And, as far as like a bigger, really skilled scoring forward, there's much worse guys you can learn from than Alex Radulov. If memory serves, I believe he's got one more year on his contract in the KHL. And the KHL and the NHL effectively have an agreement to honor contracts. Not in no small part, that agreement was created in response to one Alex Radulov. When he up and left Nashville and went back to Russia when he was still under contract. So he's got another year there. Everything I've heard is he does want to make it to North America. I believe he plans on coming to the Predators development camp again this upcoming summer, which he's done, I believe, the last 2 years. So a lot of reasons to be super excited. I think it'll be very interesting to see whether he ends up being a center or a winger. He was drafted as a center, but is playing primarily wing in the KHL right now. But if he can come over and he can slot in as a center, if it ends up that your top two centers end up being Surin and Martin, that's a pretty formidable duo down the middle. There's a lot of reason to be excited about him.
Max, you got some thoughts on that, or on Surin, or just kind of like the whole thought process of some of Nashville's current prospects? Because we got to start thinking about this, and I think we can maybe segue into a topic I had tonight while we're watching this game. We don't want to lose sight of the game either. That's what makes it fun about this watch party episodes is we're juggling, trying to talk about topics, which is our normal episode rundown, but also making sure we're watching this game. And where I'm at, we're coming up on 9 minutes remaining in the second period, and the Preds they've clamped down defensively. After the way they started this game, they're starting to help out their goaltender a little bit more, who desperately needs it right now. I mean, I think Saros is in his head a little bit right now, unfortunately, which happens to goalies, and he needs his teammates to play tough right now against a really good Minnesota team who can score goals on you in bunches. And we got a 4-3 lead. So Max, obviously take it wherever you want to take it. You want to talk about what's going on this second period, maybe fill us in with that. And then you can talk about the prospects if you'd like.
second period, I think you guys have pretty much hit it on the head, head on the nail, I should say. Definitely much better defensively. Feels like we're getting the most of the opportunities now. We've taken the shot lead, which is good. We possessed the puck for quite a bit, which is good to see here. As far as the whole thing with Surin, obviously really good to see him, continuing to play really well in the KHL. I haven't traditionally been into the prospects as much. What I could see happening potentially with him, obviously, I don't think he'll come straight to the NHL. I think he would, like you said, at least go for a bit in the AHL. I could see a scenario where, he comes to the AHL for a bit, then gets a chance to the NHL, and then goes back to the AHL a little after. That tends to happen a good bit of times. And again, I just refuse to believe anyone's ready for the NHL until I truly see it. As far as the prospects, and I actually believe I just wrote an article about this or Predlines.com a few weeks ago. I'm going to pull it up here because it had some stuff. And to talk about the top guys that should enter the lineup pretty soon. If there's one guy we really should see before the end of the year, it's got to be Zachary Leroux.
Of course.
His chances to play in Nashville this year have been totally derailed due to injuries. Had one before training camp, then went to reset in Milwaukee, then came back up and apparently got injured again. No one really knows what happened.
Get into that. Let's get into that, Max. And you can talk about it more, but let's talk about the players who we think are going to be most important to this franchise after the trade deadline. I know that's a difficult question to answer, as we don't even know who's going to still be here, but that's what makes it fun. Yeah. And I think that's going to help us even focus more on the prospects right now. As we watch here, as we watch these highlights here, that was going back to the controversial earlier in the season game when Onanen was in net and the whole goal got knocked out. We look at the Preds still putting some shots on net here. I think that's shot number 24. Yeah, it is for the Preds. And we're still like over 7 minutes left in the second period. So the Preds are finding ways to put shots on net against Gustafsson. So you've got that, and they're holding on to this 4-3 lead after a scoring barrage that happened mostly before we went live here tonight. The scoring has slowed down a little bit, and the teams have settled down a little bit, but the Preds have controlled the momentum a lot better in the second period, as Max was saying. But so I think we're all in agreement, guys, that Zachary Leroux, you can definitely put him on that list of players who are going to be extremely important to this franchise, no matter what happens at this trade deadline.
And what's so good about a guy like Leroux when it comes to, him potentially getting back to the lineup is he can play pretty much any. Obviously you're not expecting him to play top line minutes and just completely take over, but he could, play in, middle six. He could play bottom six, just his mold of play. There's a lot of fits in the lineup for a guy like that. So he's absolutely one, assuming he's at full health, one guy definitely that I would anticipate being back up and playing an important role after the trade deadline. I'm still assuming we're going to see a good few guys get traded away here. Other than that, I talked about Ryan Ufko is another guy too that potentially could get an opportunity. He's, by all accounts, has been doing well in Milwaukee. And one thing I mentioned in the Predlines article that I wrote was, you got Nick Blankenberg, who I always talk about, I like a lot. But again, I'd be ignorant if I said there's no chance he gets traded because he's an unrestricted free agent. You got to make a decision there. Do you sign or trade him? I'd be obviously much better to do either one of those than go to the offseason and he's an unrestricted free agent. That's what you don't want. So, But after that, you got Nick Perbix, who he's got another year in his contract after this, but he's been pretty serviceable, but I don't see any big reason to think, he's absolutely part of this future. Good chance, he could be one of the guys traded. Justin Barron, I can't quite tell how high his value is, and I know there's offensive upside with him, but overall, it's hard for me to really be totally excited about his outlook, think that he has a real future here. So all to say, between those three guys, there's a good chance one of those guys is getting dealt. And if you do that, then you're even thinner on the right side of the defense. And why not give Ufco's opportunity at that point, for a few games? He played a game last year. Obviously hard to really tell from there because it's one game, so you got to take it with a grain of salt. But
yeah,
hopefully get him in a few games this year, especially if the right side of the defense gets even thinner before the break. And then Joachim Kemmel, you got to wonder when's he going to get his opportunity to come back, because he played 2 games last year, played 2 games this year before being sent back to Milwaukee. The Preds obviously want to give him a shot. I guess they feel like he's not totally. Oh man, almost gave him a goal there, didn't quite. But obviously, like I said, the Preds obviously want to give him a chance, and we obviously know he's got that big shot, offensive playmaking abilities. With him, it's going to be a fine line because he's one of those guys. Unlike LaRue, he's one of those guys you're going to want to be really careful about not giving him, 4th line minutes or role. I guess unless it's like a kid line, then maybe that makes a little more sense. But you got to really make sure he's in the right situation. You're not going to want him on a line with like Smith and McCarron or whatever. That just not be a good fit right there. So you got to be really careful with a guy like him. But and then the Wild just scored off another bad. They scored off. It was Yakov Trenin who just scored.
Yakov Trenin. People forget about that, and
so yeah, that's a tough one to give up.
I'm not sure what Saros could have done with that. Honestly, I mean, when you've got a guy coming in your grill like that, what do you expect Saros to do? I want to put something up real quick on the screen. We did a poll question, and this is going to talk about the trade deadline a little bit more. I want to get a feel for what some of the fans are feeling like in terms of who is going to be the first domino to fall when it comes to who gets traded first. And so this is what our poll question is showing right now. 88 votes, so not a ton of votes, but I did put it up kind of late. But hopefully we'll get more votes. But this is just the early results right now. Poll question for episode 288: which Preds player will be the first domino to fall as team prepares to sell before March 6th NHL trade deadline? Keep in mind, everybody, we are in that roster freeze right now. Correct, gentlemen? Am I correct on that?
Yeah, I believe it just passed.
So for the Olympics, there aren't going to be any trades announced for a couple weeks until we get past the Olympics or until we get further down the road. So we can take a deep breath for now. I know there was some speculation that maybe when we saw the Panarin trade, which we got to talk about that too if we have time, going to the Kings, because that, I mean, I don't know, the return on that for the Rangers seems very.
I don't know the prospect is, which probably is more of a testament to my knowledge or lack thereof of the Kings prospect pool. But I mean, it's one of those trades everyone looks at is like, that's it.
Here's the poll question real quick, guys. So if your choice isn't available, vote for it. Tell us below in the comments. But right now we've got Michael Bunting as the overwhelming favorite as the first player to be traded.
Might I add there, and I won't be long, but reports, and I believe Elliot Friedman even said this, there was nearly a trade that with the Preds and Islanders for Michael Bunting. Apparently it fell through over the year of the draft pick. Apparently, I don't know who wanted who, but I think from what I could tell, the Islanders wanted to give up a 2027 pick, and the Preds wanted a 2026 pick, so the Islanders pivoted and got Andre Palat instead. So it tells you that Trotz is definitely looking, and Bunting is one of those guys who very well could be on the out here soon.
Brandon on Facebook puts his vote in on Facebook and says he thinks it's going to be Marchessault, which is a fair. And look, they could all be traded, but we're just kind of throwing.
That's got to be a penalty shot.
We're just throwing out a fun poll
question. It's not.
It
was, and I was a little bit surprised too.
So delayed penalty right now in this game, as it's tied 4-4 now. And it looks like the
what? He's looking from directly behind. That should be
that should have been a penalty shot.
Is that something that can be challenged?
No, I don't believe so.
No. Oh yeah, what are we looking at here? What's going on? How's that not? I would love to hear the reasoning behind that. Well, the Preds power play has been cooking at least tonight, so let's see what happens here.
An angry Preds fan said too, there's absolutely no reason why that shouldn't have been a penalty shot.
Weird. So here's my choice in this one on the poll question. I voted for Jonathan Marchessault as well. I just think if they can is correct, but I think I don't know. I feel like they might, depending on what is coming back in return. I know they've said they don't want to retain salary, but if that's what it takes to get it over the finish line,
I don't see how it would get done any other way.
That's what I'm saying. So my point is they might be that desperate to trade him, especially if you're getting a decent return on top of the retained salary. Like,
and of course, they're going to say they don't want to retain. Like, they're not going to put. I don't think Trotz's going to put out there. Oh yeah, we're going to retain salary, because that just kills.
Of course, very good point, Max. So, like, for me, I don't really think too much about that. But yeah, so it's kind of a close race right now in the poll between Bunting and Marchessault. Eric Hollis, so you can only pick 4 choices when you do a poll question on X, and so obviously there's more than 4 players that could happen first, because the Preds are shopping a lot of players. Nick Perbix came up recently on the 32 Thoughts podcast, which I really haven't put a lot of thought into him as a trade possibility. But you've got that. Of course, you've got Steven Stamkos is still. I just cannot imagine the Preds trading Stamkos right now. I mean, for everything he's doing for this franchise, he's putting them on the map in terms of eyeballs. He loves being here. When I see him play on the ice, he's like a second captain out there. And no disrespect to Roman Josi, but Steven Stamkos plays like a captain. Let's just be honest, guys. You see him out there constantly talking to the refs, figuring out what's going on. He's a coach on the ice. Same with Ryan O'Reilly. I mean, we have a lot of guys who are captain material, and that kind of speaks to why I think, honestly speaking, that's why the Preds are in the position they're in right now in the standings. It's a testament to these veterans who take it personal what happened last year. They were embarrassed. Ryan O'Reilly's made it clear how embarrassed he's been by his own play. So I think these guys take it personal. And so you've got a bunch of captain-like veterans who are on this team right now, and they're milking this for everything they can right now, because that's just how they play and that's how they care. And so I just cannot see the Preds shifting away from Stamkos unless it's just like a crazy overpay. I can see them. They're more willing to retain. They're more willing to retain salary on Marchessault, 1, because it's a lower salary, but 2, I just think they want to keep Stamkos if they can. Like, I don't think they're in a hurry. Go ahead, Boyd. You had something to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are 2 things that could make and I'm just going to say kind of more generally, one of the players with a no movement clause. So whether that's Stamkos or Marchessault or Shea, or even O'Reilly's virtual no movement clause.
Right.
I think it's, unless either some other team offers just something absolutely crazy, or if between now and March 6th, just the bottom absolutely falls out. Like, if they're in the race, I don't see the Preds really trying to move one of those guys. I mean, again, if Seattle calls and offers Shane Wright for Jonathan Marchessault, yeah, obviously, I don't think that's happening. But that's the kind of thing that, okay, maybe maybe you pull the trigger there. But in terms of in season, if the Predators are still in the race, I don't see the veterans with trade protection getting moved. That ends up feeling more like an off-season type move to me. And then, we'll see what happens there. But so from my perspective, I think the player that is most likely to get overpaid for kind of right now, I mean, I was going to say Bunting. Well,
he could be overpaid for.
Yes, but is outside of an absolutely crazy offer, is Trotz going to pull the trigger on that while they're still in the playoff race?
Yeah.
I don't, and that's got to get us to like, where do we think? Do we think that anything has changed with this announcement that Trotz has announced that he's going to step down? Not now, like not immediate. For people who maybe didn't catch the press conference, or maybe they haven't followed it closely, but they did know that Trotz is doing it. But let's make it very clear: Trotz is staying in the position. They're going through a full search committee that Trotz is going to be a part of. And it was really cool, let me just say. And I think I saw you tweet this out, Boyd, how refreshing it was to see ownership available, answering questions, saying how much they care. So it was cool seeing Bill Haslam out there talking about that. But didn't he also kind of say that he is not interested in ripping it all apart? And if you're going to rip it all apart, it would mean probably trading Ryan O'Reilly and Steven Stamkos, for that matter, if you could. So I think they're going to try to walk the line the best they can right now, but definitely keep this playoff race going.
They're not going to say anything definite right now.
And I think in their heart of hearts, though, I don't think anybody expected this. I don't think they expected them to be staying alive like this.
I would say I don't think anybody expected. I'm trying to think of the right way to phrase this, because most of the preseason projections, not shockingly, were pretty down on Nashville. I don't know if anybody expected the team to rise to at least even where they are, given how they started. I think, if you were to take away the results of last year, and even if you go back to before last year began, most of the projections for Nashville were at least like playoff team. So I don't think it's shocking that they are where they are now, given the amount of talent that does exist on this roster. But given the way the season started after how last season went, I would definitely say nobody expected them to climb back into it, on a pace that is somewhat reasonable and not on the back of an 18-game point streak.
I'll give myself a small bump. I predicted them to be much better than last year, which they really only had anywhere to go but up. But I will say I thought they would finish mid-80s in points, but still fall considerably short of the playoff race. I thought they would kind of fade as the season wore on, which could still very well happen. So I guess my preseason prediction is kind of stayed on track for me, but I will say the way it has happened, I could not have predicted.
Exactly. Like the way it's happened is the real shock.
I think where they're in the standings isn't that. I'll be honest, the way I predicted it to happen, and I've been wrong. I'll be honest, I've been totally wrong on how I predicted it. I thought that it lived and died with UC Saros, and I've been wrong. And I always say when I'm wrong on this podcast, and I was wrong on that. I thought that it was going to live. It was going to go off of UC Saros, but also I did also say that the veterans are going to have a huge bounce back, and a lot of them have. So I guess that part of the prediction has kind of come true. But I thought that they were still going to be primarily a heavy forechecking, low scoring, old school Trotz era type of team, and to my delight, they've proven me wrong. They've actually shown. Tonight's a perfect example. They've actually shown that, no, they can win some track meets every now and then. They've got 17 comeback wins this season, which is
insane.
The most in the league, only alongside the Montreal Canadiens, who might have one more than them. I'm not sure. But if you're trailing at any point in a game and you come back and win that game, that's how that metric is measured. And the Preds have 17. So
makes it a lot easier to makes it a lot easier to do that when you consistently give up a goal in the first 2 minutes.
But if they were true. But if they were gonna be a team that I predicted them to be, which was gonna be a low scoring, old school type of Trotz team, they wouldn't have 17 comeback wins. So that part of this team, I was dead wrong on. But they are kind of still I thought they would have a fight in them this year. I thought that they would maybe hang around in the wild card race for a little bit. And so where they're at in the standings doesn't shock me all that much, but it's definitely the way they've done it has surprised me. I got it on the screen here for YouTube and Facebook viewers. Top players on Preds trade block. This is just a list. I didn't really rank them, but it's Jonathan Marceau, Michael Bunting, Michael McCarron, Nick Perbix, who has recently popped up thanks to Elliot Friedman, Eric Holla, Ryan O'Reilly. I want to talk a little bit about Eric Holla and why why I think that he might not be traded after all, even though
I was going to go.
Here's why I say that. I'm not saying he's definitely not going to be traded, but I'm not hearing as much about him in the trade rumors. I'm hearing about other players way more, and I think it's just because the Preds are so lack of depth in their center core that they might be more interested in re-upping him for another year if he's interested, which I think he would be. I can't see Eric Holla really wanting to really test the market that hard if the Preds can show some goodwill here and be like, hey, we like you. You've proven us right in that trade for you. You've done good. We want to keep you around. Let's offer you this. I don't know what he's going to be asking for, but if you can work something out, a team-friendly deal with Eric Holla, I'm not totally against keeping him.
Chad, you literally almost took the words entirely out of my mouth there. That was the exact point.
We haven't talked about this.
No, we did not talk about this at all.
That's just me and Max on the same wavelength.
No, and when I texted you two earlier today in that chat we have saying how I have a take about Eric Holla, that was basically going to be exactly it. I was going to say because
I'm sorry I stole that from you.
No, we're literally on, like you said, the same wavelength. He's been playing well here. It's center position is so thin, especially if you trade Michael McCarron, you're even thinner. It really does not hurt a 2-year extension. And I'll say this. I said a few months, maybe not a few months, but I've said a few times on this podcast, not totally jokingly, but kind of more of a soft prediction that I could see Michael Bunting getting an extension. Now, I don't think that anymore, even though I wouldn't necessarily have liked it. I really would not be mad at an Eric Holla extension. I think it honestly makes sense. Because think about it. Even if Ryan O'Reilly is still here, after that, it's Michael McCarron, who there's been talk about getting traded, Tyson Jost. We just sent back Fedor Svechkov to the minors. There is not much there. I don't see.
I know.
I really don't think you're blocking anyone, but
you got to have somebody to play center,
right?
The trade deadline. That's really what it comes down to, for sure. So, Boyd, do you kind of see it the same way, or do you think there's a way to work around it if you trade Holla? Would you move Stamkos to center at that point to get through the season? I don't know.
No, I think there's one of two things. Either you move him for a younger center.
I would love that.
Yeah. The name that kind of popped into my head recently, and I forget where I saw his name pop up, was out of Boston, and ironically, he just scored a goal in the outdoor game. But Matthew Poitras, who's 21, center, kind of fallen out of favor in Boston, it seems. If they're gearing up for a playoff run, Boston is also really thin at center, and they've had a ton of injuries. And, could you not look at Eric Holla and the way he plays and just think, that's a Bruin?
And he's been there before. He has familiarity. Yeah.
So, I think something like that is a possibility. But I agree. You can't. It would be a challenging look to trade both Holla and McCarron for draft picks. And, yes, you could call up Svechkov, but exactly to the point, are you moving Stamkos to center? Are you calling up David Edstrom, who's
who
a thousand ways of not ready?
And I mentioned him in my article a few weeks ago in the prospects article as an honorable mention, not because I really thought he was ready, but because it might be out of pure necessity because you just don't have enough bodies.
All right, guys.
And he's a good prospect. He will get there. Just, he just came over to North America this year and he just needs some time.
Before we can continue this discussion. Before we get to the third period here, I do want to tell you about our DraftKings Pick 6 offer, which is a really good offer. We got the Super Bowl coming up this Sunday. New England Patriots, Seattle Seahawks. Who saw that coming? Mike Vrabel continues to haunt Titans fans everywhere, including myself. But Super Bowl 60 deserves a sports book built for the moment. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 60, puts you right in the center of the biggest game of the year. Anything can happen during the Super Bowl, and DraftKings has your back with early exit. If your player goes down in the first half, you still get paid in cash when your bet settles. No bonus bets, no waiting. While other sports books don't offer injury protection, DraftKings covers the entire first half, even the second quarter. You see, guys, that's the kind of stuff that would happen to me. I bet on a player, he's cooking, he's going off, and he sprains an ankle. He's out for the rest of the game. He falls 3 yards short of my bet, and he would have clearly beat it if he didn't get hurt. DraftKings is there for you in that scenario, which has actually happened to me before. So that's good to see. And early exit works on live bets too. Pre-game or in-game, DraftKings has you covered. So, guys, who are our Super Bowl picks? I've been wrong all playoffs, so don't take my pick with a grain of salt. I'm definitely going for the Patriots because even though I will never forgive the Titans for firing Mike Vrabel, I still am a Mike Vrabel guy. I like what the Patriots have done this year. I like Drake May. Nothing against the Seahawks. Got no ill will towards them. Definitely going to be pulling for the Patriots, and I actually am going to say the Patriots will win a close one. That's my pick. Max, you're more of the NFL guy. Who's your pick? Who do you want to see win, but who are you think's going to win?
I'm going to go with I'm going to say the Seahawks are going to win. I think they're a bit more of a complete team overall. I think the Patriots, again, not trying to take away from the Patriots, but their offense hasn't really been that great in the playoffs. They've been on the back of their defense, and I'm not trying to take credit, but a few bad offenses too, we got to say as well. I think with Jackson Smith and Jigba, the way their defense is playing, Sam Darnold's been playing, he's silencing the doubters right now. I think it's lining up for them really well at this point. I think they have a few more pieces that are going to take them over the top. As far as who I want to win, I'll be honest. I'd rather see Seattle win. There is still the part in me that it still would definitely sting to see Vrabel win, and it's going to sting a little less because I do actually really like the new coaching staff the Titans have hired, and it's gotten a lot of really good reviews from the league. But just so my heart can handle it a little better, I'll take Seattle.
All right. What about you, Boyd?
I mean, I will admit I didn't watch a whole lot of Seattle this year.
Me neither.
But I will say I've been incredibly impressed with Drake May and the types of really big game throws that he's made throughout the year. And, I don't know if I'd say I'm a Vrabel guy, but, for his time here, really good dude, did a lot for the community, seems to, really want to do well by people. So I'll probably lean a little bit New England. But this for me falls into one of those, like, just please give me a good game.
Yeah.
Just my lasting memory of Seattle in a Super Bowl was when they beat Denver.
God.
I was in Vegas for the weekend, just like I happened to be in Vegas that weekend, totally unrelated to the Super Bowl. And my wife and I went to this, Super Bowl gathering kind of thing in one of the hotels, got all settled in, whatever. And the game was over like 8 minutes in. Because it was like 27-3, like before the first quarter was over. I was like, well, that is wildly anticlimactic.
There was a safety on the first play.
Yeah, it was bad.
I would let's hope that this Super Bowl is definitely a lot more
just
competitive.
Just give me some drama. That's all.
All right.
One little nugget,
quick,
then we'll go off to another topic. One thing to monitor: Seahawks rookie safety, who's been a key cog in their machine, Nick Emenwari, apparently suffered an ankle injury in practice today, and he's going to have imaging on it. If he can't play, that's fairly significant for both teams, really. But obviously, bad for Seattle, better for New England chances.
Well, I'm intrigued. We
don't want to see anyone injured, though.
I'm definitely intrigued by the Super Bowl matchup, even though it's a matchup I wasn't expecting. But anyway, new to DraftKings, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. New York, call 877-8-HOPENY or text HOPENY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 plus in most states, void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win. Bet must win. Yes, your bet must win, obviously. So there you go.
As it turns out, you don't get free money for losing.
Hey, some of these apps, they're like, oh yeah, you lose everything, we'll still give you money. But no, DraftKings, yeah, you still got to win, guys. But all right, so I got to pull up my stream again. I had to do the ad read, and I totally got off the stream here. Are we back in the third period, gentlemen?
Oh, very close, I believe.
Just about, yeah.
All right, so we're tied at 4, everybody. Let me update everybody with the stats. Let's do the team stats. Let's see what's going on in the team stats. So it's shots 27-23 in favor of the Preds. Hits are 15-11 in favor of the Wild. Face-offs, ooh, that one sticks out. 30-14 in favor of the Preds. They're owning the Facebook. Well, hey, I mean, maybe they're good on Facebook too, but no, they're winning the face-offs. They're winning the face-off circle 30-14. Power plays 2 for 3 for the Preds. The Wild have only had one power play chance tonight. They did connect on it. And then there you have it. That's most of your 13 block shots are 13-9 for the Preds. And a lot of giveaways, according to here. 15 for the Wild, 11 for the Preds. So that's just your basic stats there. We've already kind of gone over the Preds scores so far tonight. Stamkos has a goal and an assist. Forsberg has a goal and an assist. Marchand has 2 assists. O'Reilly has 2 assists. Stamkos moved up the power play all-time goals list. He's 7th all-time with Brendan Shanahan, a household name, of course, if you're an old-school hockey fan. So, yeah, and Saros has settled down a little bit, but he is 19 saves on 23 shots. So he's still giving up 4. Rough night at the office again for Saros. And I just, guys, and we're going to go back to what you were talking about earlier, Max, because I don't think we gave it enough discussion. Is it time to be worried about Saros? I am.
Yes.
I am. I totally am. Yep. And it's not even because all these goals are necessarily his fault, but I'm just worried about his confidence right now. I'm worried about the fact that Justus Onanen has come in relief and looked really good when he's done
played him a lot over the past month.
And you have to start asking yourself, like, do we need to start giving Justus Onanen a little bit more opportunities? Like, not just back-to-backs, but actually get him in there a little bit more, maybe. He did get a new contract recently, so that at least the organization does have some confidence in him to keep him around as a backup. So I don't know. I mean, I'm worried about Saros' confidence a little bit, especially considering he had a down year last year. So and
even during the 2023-24 season, like for the first half of the year, was really not good.
So I do think there's some credence to that, that we should be a little worried because he's in the first year of an 8-year contract. You know, and I've been on record of saying, look, that in the long run, that should turn out to be a bargain deal, AAV wise. But not if he's going to be untrustworthy, which still small sample size. He could still finish the season strong. We know he's got the innate abilities and skill set to be one of the best goalies in the league, but it just hasn't looked good at all lately. And I know the team has to protect him better as well. But look, I've always been a big UC Saros apologist. I get flack all the time on social media that I protect him too much and I make excuses for him too much. Even I'm saying, yes, okay, I'm worried about UC Saros right now. So, if I'm saying it, there might be something going on.
And I said it tweet earlier tonight, and it paid me. Sorry, Boyd, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to hear from Boyd real quick about it because he hasn't really said anything about it.
I mean, I think there's definitely concern. A couple of things that come to mind. To me, he's playing like a goalie that doesn't trust his defense.
Okay.
So, he's overcommitting. He's, overreacting to certain things because he doesn't, there have been a number of plays where the Preds defense has, way overcommitted on things early in the season. God bless, it was terrible. And, you'd see all, 4 out of 5 Preds defenders on one side of the ice. I can't remember, it was the second goal of the game against St. Louis. All 4 of the Preds penalty killers were below the dot on one side of the ice. And as a result, Pavel Buchnevich was wide open in the slot. I mean, there was nobody within 6 feet of him. And, and I say that less to, necessarily defend Saros because he needs to make more saves. Absolutely no question about it. But I think there's also an element of, with all the turnover, due to injuries or whatever else, and some of the bad play, I don't think he trusts his defense. So he's putting himself in bad spots because he thinks he has to bail his defense out. And
that's a good point.
And I think in the case of Onanen, he hasn't been in there enough to know any different. So he's just sort of reacting to what's in front of him and not playing in the back of his mind, oh man, all of my players are going to go to one side of the ice. I better overplay it. And, you end up leaving something open. And, there's definitely some structural things. There's some confidence that he has to figure out. I think I haven't looked at it recently, but they've been, over the last couple of years, one of the worst teams about giving up low danger goals.
So there you have it. We've got it on Money Puck right now. Saros is 84th among qualified goalies in goals saved above expected at minus 11.2. I mean, you're seeing a lot of goalies on this list that are not full-time starters. That's what I notice the most. You see out a lot of these goalies, you see like Peter Mrazek, 10 starts, Carter Hart, 12 starts, Jacob Markstrom, 30 starts, Aiden Hill, 11 starts. These are the guys that Saros is ranked around when it comes to goals saved above expected being that low. Kevin Lankinen, 31 starts. Yaroslav Askarov is also down there with UC Saros in goals saved above expected. But that's the company that Saros is in right now. And I think, this is a category that Saros led in a couple years ago. Like, he's always been known as the type of goalie that performs way above what he should be performing at. Like, he's normally in the positive in goals saved above expected. Like, normally, I can remember when Saros is hot, when he's really in his zone, I can remember times where Saros would keep the Preds in games they have no business being in. He might still take the loss, but his goals saved above expected would be like 1 or 2 goals. And we would all be like, man, I hate that Saros took that loss. Like, he didn't deserve that. Like, that dude balled out and he still took the loss. Now I don't see that so much from Saros. He's actually is, I hate saying liability, but he's definitely not locked in right now. And I mean, that's 84th among qualified goalies, and he's supposed to be our workhorse. He's supposed to be I mean, 43 starts this year. At a certain point, you gotta figure out something here, and it is very concerning. So, Max, I am glad you brought that up earlier.
Yeah, it's just I just go back to like just too many times where, and again, we know the defense is really helping them, but again, you sign a guy like Saros because you believe he can elevate you, and too many times over the past few years, we're sitting here saying, "Man, Saros is going through it right now." I mean, it's been a theme. It really has been.
So on kind of the stats of things that are, not maybe going great right now, among, what I'll call kind of qualified goaltenders. So goaltenders that have played more than 1,100 minutes, which means you've got your starters and your 1A, 1B guys. High danger save percentage. Saros is 7th worst.
Whoa.
So that used to be, for years, that was his thing.
Yeah.
So now, some of the time, that means also, for what it's worth, that also means there's guys getting to the net that are wide open.
Yeah. But
you gotta get some saves, and then you kind of go down the list. Mid danger, he's kind of middle of the pack. Low danger. Low danger, he's actually doing much better. Which I remember it was either last year or 2 years ago that he was like weirdly the 2nd worst goalie in the league on low danger shots. But yeah, so it's almost flipped around where the Preds are doing better sheltering the longer shots, but are kind of once again struggling to keep people out of the front of the net. And what that also tells me is sort of one of the points I made earlier. They've had so much turnover defensively between changing players, injuries. Haig's been hurt, and that was one of the guys they brought in to really like clear the front of the net and make that game more simple. Obviously Yossi's missed some time. It's been a struggle for them to,
Saros has
really protect the net.
Saros has faced a flurry of chances from the Wild in this third period. He's up to 23 saves now on the night. And the Preds also just put a scoring chance with Phil Forsberg getting in on the scrum. You see Marchessault going in there to protect Forsberg. It's getting chippy. It's 4-4. Guys, regardless of how this game ends, it's awesome to see that the Preds are answering the call against these top tier teams. Can we just all say that?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to give them a pass. If they end up losing this game, it's going to suck. But, they keep proving to us that they do belong against some of these quality teams. They've beat Colorado this year. They've beat Edmonton this year. They've already beat Minnesota this year. It's not like they haven't beaten some really good teams this year. And at some point, you have to admit, even the biggest critics of this team have to admit that this team can play against some really good teams. Now, can they win a 7-game series? That's a whole nother discussion that we can talk about. But when it comes to a one-off game, just a one-off game, they can play with anybody. They've already proven it this year. And that's what makes them so frustrating, is because there are times when they look like the lottery team that they were last year. But they're showing it. I'm probably jinxing them right now, and they're about to get blasted for a couple goals and lose this game. But I don't care. They're showing that they can play with these teams. And it just really makes it a conundrum for this trade deadline. Like, it really does. It's crazy. But I think that there's a way for this team to still handle the trade deadline effectively, but still try to keep this team competitive and let the chips fall where they may. And I think to do that, you've probably got to keep Ryan O'Reilly, and you've got to keep Steven Stamkos, obviously. And I think you can still survive without Jonathan Marchessault. No disrespect to Marchessault. They've already shown it. He was out for a month. when this team went through their hot streak. Note, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Marchessault, but that's just the case. What other players, guys, do we think they can trade and they can still keep this magic going? Do you think they can trade Bunting and still plug and play and keep this magic going? What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
I don't think they can trade Eric Holla. I think Eric Holla with your center depth, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, no.
It gets a lot harder. I mean, if you could trade him to Boston for Matthew Poitras, if you could trade him to Winnipeg to get Brad Lambert, something like that, where you're at least getting a center in return. And I'm not saying those would necessarily be 1-for-1 deals. But, if you're going to, especially if you're going to move both of Howell and McCarron, somewhere along the way, you have to get a center back. I think if based on the way the team is playing, right now, which, obviously things can change, but if you move a Michael Bunting, who you can more or less replace in the lineup with Zach LaRue, very similar type of player.
Yep.
So you can just about plug and play there. You move one of McCarron or Smith if somebody, offers something good. I mean, we just saw Nick Bjugstad get traded for, I think, a third today. Another like big bottom six forward. I think the big difference with McCarron is he's a full-time center and kills penalties, which Nick Bjugstad does not.
I saw last year some rumors, not even rumors, like some people, maybe they are rumors, whatever you want to call them, that McCarron could have fetched a second rounder.
Yeah.
So here's what I was responding to someone on Twitter, Gene, who's a big follower of the Preds. I communicate with Gene all the time. Big fan of the Preds. Love talking to Gene. Thank you for replying to my post earlier, but Gene basically said, are you and he made a really good point here. He said, are you and the fan base really wanting to go through 3 to 4 seasons worse than last season? Because I'm fearful that's what a rebuild would produce, with certainly no guarantees. You younger guys might be okay, but us old heads are running out of time. And then so I responded saying there is a way to field a competitive and entertaining team while also rebuilding. It is possible, albeit tricky, and need a competent front office and head coach to do that. But you make a fair point. So I think that's what this front office is challenged with right now.
Truthfully, that's what Barry Trotz said he was trying to do from the beginning. He said he was trying to thread the needle between staying competitive, staying relevant, and continuing to build, off of, the pipeline that had been started. I think it's taken a bit of a meandering path, but I mean, that was sort of the stated goal from the beginning. And, now the hard part is, we sort of reached the place where two things need to happen. You are getting much closer to making the really hard choices about who to trade. There's still a couple easy ones this year, but moving into this offseason, especially into next season, you're starting to get into the harder choices. And then the second part is, which is less about the general manager and more about the overall player development staff. All these young guys that you brought in have to produce. That's always the challenge, and we've seen it this year with especially Svechkov. High pick, a lot of promise, a lot of talent. But if you're going to give that dude a second line slot, he's got to produce.
We're getting to that point, to your point, we're getting to that point where the chickens are coming home to roost, and we got to start seeing some of these prospects show that they're ready.
Mm-hmm.
We can't keep sheltering all of these prospects saying like, okay, we're gonna send them back and forth. Like, you're gonna have to start making some serious decisions. Luckily, Luke Evangelista has really, taken on that role finally, and he is. I mean, I don't think we've talked nearly enough about Evangelista on this podcast lately, but that dude has been such a great surprise. Not so much
34 assists on the year
okay,
before tonight.
let me take that back. I don't want to call it a surprise like we didn't know he had it like he came out of nowhere. I'm not saying that, but definitely he was like an X factor, if not the top X factor going into the season, where we were all like, okay, what's going to happen? Contract holdout, bad optics, going through the training camp. He misses all of training camp. Like, this looks bad optics. And look at what's happened with Luke Evangelista. Now it looks like this guy is going to be a big part of your transition rebuild, whatever you want to call it. So we got to call it, but there's a lot of other younger players and prospects that really are going to have to prove themselves as soon as after March 6th. Like, it's coming up that quick. Like, forget about next season. I'm talking like, in a little over a month from now, we're going to have to see some guys really step up. And maybe even some of them are going to have to play well for this team to make the playoffs, finish the deal.
I mean, we saw Matthew Wood get a huge goal a couple of nights ago. Yeah. And, that was obviously big for him. He obviously started really hot and, not shockingly, as rookies do, trailed off a bit, has to find his game again a bit, but I think he's shown a ton of promise. And for the thought kind of occurred to me watching the game on Monday and watching Luke Evangelista, and this may not ring as true for some of the newer Predators fans, but I was watching him and I was thinking, that's Martin Erat. Excellent puck handler, excellent passer, can score a goal, really forechecks well. And a lot of people kind of don't necessarily recognize, because those teams that Martin Erat was on could not score. But
I remember
he was one of the top producing forwards on those teams. There's a reason why he fetched Philip Forsberg as a trade return. Like, if Luke Evangelista turns into, a right-handed Martin Erat, that is not a bad thing any stretch. He was a very productive player for a lot of years. And just their play style matches up a lot for me.
Sorry to cut in, but a little bit of a scary moment there. Wild were right in on Saros there. I'm really hoping that Saros can just channel his former Vezina Trophy self, and because I feel like the Wild are about to really put the heat on the Preds right now. Like, I can just feel it in the pit of my stomach. I mean, this game has really slowed down in terms of goals being scored, but the pace has not slowed down at all. And the Wild are coming right now. I can feel it. And Saros is, he's only human. It's got to be in the back of his head right now. But he didn't get chased. He's in this game. He has made 26 saves. So he has managed to a little bit salvage this game for himself a little bit. And, I think I just don't know how we're going to get through these next 8 minutes without the Wild really putting a lot of shots on Saros. We'll see what happens, but I did want to update what was going on in the game for our watch party listeners and viewers right now, who, for all we know, they might not even be watching the game right now. They're literally watching our show to get the reaction. But yeah, so here you go. We're under 8 minutes left, and there is a lot of back and forth action, everybody. I mean, it's not that this is like a rugged, boring game. It's just the goals have slowed down a lot. Both teams have over 30 shots on net. But I'm at 7. I'm right at the 7-minute mark, Max. Where are you?
I'm just about there.
Okay, so we're pretty close to each other. All right. Oh no.
Oh God. It doesn't look like it's going to be much.
Yeah, they recovered pretty good there. I think the Preds got it. Again, I'm not trying to jinx this team, but the Preds defense has clamped down a lot as this game has wore on.
And I'm going to need them to stop falling down. Like,
Yeah.
Shea just fell down. I've seen Blankenberg fall down twice. Evangelista fell down a little bit ago. Like, guys, stay on your skates, especially against a team like Minnesota that has a lot of guys that can really, really move.
So how do you guys feel about that Artemi Panarin trade to the Kings?
Seemed like nothing for the
Rangers. It's a second and third round pick, I think, conditional, and
it's
a prospect.
Yeah, it's a conditional third, where as part of the conditions, I think they add another fourth, or they up it to a second if they win multiple playoff rounds. But Liam Greentree, who is the kind of the primary piece in the trade, I mean, he's a very highly thought of prospect.
Okay.
So is he?
Well, you would hope they got something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, prospects aren't quite as much of magic beans as draft picks, but they're still magic beans.
Well, the thing about the Rangers is they definitely have kind of seem to admit that they are what they are, and they've got to like take their medicine right now, obviously. But I look at it from the Kings' perspective. They're showing that they're tired of losing to the Oilers in the first round by getting. They
got to make the playoffs first this year.
I know, but that's why it's pretty interesting that they go out and make this move. The Kings are a team that have absolutely benefited from the overtime loss. I think they got 13 overtime losses, and that's been another debate. Oh, no. And there it is.
Oh, gee, that was a crazy deflection.
I mean, guys, I felt it in the pit of my stomach. I'm not saying I'm sorry, guys.
Well, can I add one thing to the whole Panarin trade thing? If the Rangers, I mean, this prospect might end up being pretty good, but if that's all the Rangers were going to get, why do they have to pull the trigger now? Like, I understand, like, they made it clear they're going to sell, and obviously they scratched Panarin for the past week, so like they wanted to make a move, but like, again, like why go through the whole thing of scratching him? Like, why couldn't they have? I guess my thing is, why couldn't they have held out for a better offer?
So, real quick, unfortunately, Blankenberg is in the middle of another.
Yeah, he's at some unlucky place.
He is having a rough night.
And once again, I mean, Saros just the on the wrong end of bad luck right now. I mean, I don't even know what to say. I mean
that was bad.
It sounds all the time like we're making excuses for Saros, but I mean, if you have a brain and you see that. You see a puck fly in there and just bounce off Blankenberg pinball and gets past Saros. It's just like, I don't even know what to say. I really don't. It's just like, it kills you. And I just...
Boyd, your tweet said it best. He's having a rough night of randomness.
I mean, smacks a puck into McCarron. Then I think in the second period, he tried to clear a puck from in front of the net, went straight into a teammate, which created another chance that, thankfully got stopped. And then now, one banks in off of him where he was clearly to the side of the net too. Like that's
and now the FanDuel broadcast just went to commercial and they were showing Blankenberg on the bench, and you can tell that it is eating at him right now. I mean, how could it not?
Yeah, tough one.
Well, so the Preds are down 5-4. We're under 5 minutes left in the game. Let's see if they got another trick up their sleeve here. I mean, we know better than to count out this team, so I'm not going to count them out. But they're down 5-4. We'll see what happens here. I feel for Saros, guys. I mean, I do. How can you not? I mean, the guy, I thought he was playing a lot better and settling down, and then he gets another puck on friendly fire.
And he had barely even turned back to the play Blankenberg had. I mean, that's just...
So we'll see how this game closes out. We're going to take you to the very end of the game as we're at an hour and a half here for this watch party episode of Catfish and Ice, episode 288, presented by DraftKings with your hosts, Chad Minton, Max Greenberg, and Boyd Farish. There's one more big topic as we close out this period, and we hope that the Preds can tie this up and maybe get us into overtime. But I did want to one topic, quick topics I want to get into is I want to talk a little bit more while we have time about Trotz stepping down, just our overall thoughts.
How did we make it this far in the episode without talking about that?
We kind of touched on it lightly, but I don't want to speculate on like what could be going on and behind closed doors. I don't want to get into all that weird stuff. I just want to talk purely about how we think this is going to impact the franchise and stuff. And then I also kind of want to talk about the Olympics as well, like just not too heavy, but how excited we are about that, because I'm very excited about seeing NHL players in the Olympics again. But real quick, my thoughts on Trotz is I got some pushback on this from people saying it wasn't like that much of I just feel like,
oh yes, we scored.
and I guess we're not going to talk about Trotz right now. What? Wow. Oh, it's Roman Josi, the captain.
It was a bounce too. Wow.
I mean, I just said we don't count this team out ever.
Wow.
Well, so after the bounces not going your way, where I think 4-1 in the favor of Minnesota.
My comeback year, the player of the year campaign for Roman Josi lives on.
He is. I mean, my goodness, is he on fire right now?
He's up to 11 goals on the year now. Well, I was just going to say on Trotz, real quick.
If we can.
We're going to try to talk about you tonight, Barry Trotz, I swear. I take it as an incredibly it just shows more and more how much he cares about this franchise in his heart. And it was kind of tough watching that press conference, to be quite honest, for me as an OG 1998-99 Preds fan, because Trotz does mean a lot to this franchise. It goes without saying. Has he made some mistakes and mishaps? Did he maybe get in over his head in this GM job? That's all fair to debate, and maybe even so. But I think it's cool that he did this press conference. He showed a lot of humility, in my opinion. And the fact that he wants to stick around and not have the ego. He wants to do whatever he can to help this team forward. He's going to be part of the committee. I like that they're choosing an outside. They're looking outside the organization. I love that. That is what this franchise needs. They need to do a full, deep search. Did the Wild just score?
Wait.
Oh, my God. I saw Wild fans cheering in it.
No, okay. Oh. Nope.
Let's see.
Nope.
There you go, Saros. Saros with a big save there. Big save. 2 or 3 rapid fire saves. Good job, Saros. I love that. Settle down, man. We need you. But I got to update the score again on the bottom. But I think there was a lot of humility and grace from Trotz in that moment. I just see it from a human aspect. He wants to be with his family. You can argue that the timing is super weird and super off.
It's very odd.
I think apparently it was always the plan that he was going to step down at the end of the season and out.
Well, it was not. Yeah, it was not always the plan that he was going to retire at the end of this season.
Right. Yes.
He and it was interesting because I heard, listening to 32 Thoughts yesterday morning, which if any of you out there have not listened to that episode from Tuesday morning, I mean, Elliot Friedman walks through it in such detail. It is absolutely worth. I mean, it was probably a 20-25 minute segment where he walks through kind of beginning to end how we got here. And one of the comments was, either I forget if it was him thinking it or he'd heard it from somebody else, that they never thought Trotz was going to be there for 15 years as GM. And, he ultimately made the decision not to renew his contract, after next season. And then kind of as they were talking about that and kind of what does that process mean, ultimately they decided that going ahead and initiating the process to find his successor was better to go ahead and do this year. And, that's one of those things where there's no good time to make that public. If you were going to do it, in this season, you definitely didn't want to wait until any closer to the trade deadline, because that's even more chaotic. But, and I love that I'm just getting to talk right through Max right now. So, there was never a really good time for it. And, basically their feeling was, if we're going to try to pick a successor, we want time to vet this process out before there's, 8 to 10 other NHL teams trying to do the same thing after they inevitably fire their general manager at the end of the season. So, there was never going to be some magical time to make it happen, but I think they're trying to handle it as transparently as they can. I did think it was interesting that as part of the press conference, they basically said, we are telling you now that this process is happening and you will not hear about it again until we have identified the person, which obviously elements of it will get leaked eventually. But I just thought that was a very interesting thing of like, we're not going to keep you updated. We're just going to tell you when it's done.
Let me read the quote that was shared on the Preds social media site from Trotz. It says, while this announcement sets up the beginning of the end of my day-to-day working relationship with our team, I consider myself a Pred for life and will continue to assist the organization in working toward our aspiration of bringing a Stanley Cup to Nashville. Barry Trotz. And I will tell you, one day when it does happen, Barry Trotz will be one of the first to be able to touch that Stanley Cup in Smashville on the Broadway parade. I will promise you that. And he will be so deserving of that. So I know that he made some missteps as a GM, but I can still respect the man for everything he's done for this franchise. And I've always said nothing will ever change for me. And so like now, when it comes to the front office leadership, once we got to get past this trade deadline. As far as I'm concerned, Barry Trotz still is controlling what happens right now. And once they finally announce who that new GM is going to be, that's when I'm going to shift my focus away from Barry Trotz. But right now, nothing has really changed for me. And I hope that nothing has really changed for Barry Trotz in his thinking. I hope he's still thinking like that announcement never changed. That's really what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that he is still locked in and he is thinking about what he has to do as a GM right now, because he is still in charge. So that's kind of my thought process. The timing is crazy, but we got to get through this trade deadline, this very tricky trade deadline. We got to get through it first.
Yeah.
But guys, would we expect the new GM to at least be announced before the draft?
I would think so.
Yeah.
I mean, here's what I will say, and here's the thing I would come back to. It would look, especially for this franchise, it would look really, really bad if they dragged out this process to beyond even the draft this year and they hired from within.
Yeah.
And we're going to overtime.
Overtime, and it is. It's 5
I
to
think
5.
I forget, there was somebody on Twitter that made this timing is so terrible, how could it be worse? And my mind immediately went to Toronto firing Kyle Dubas a week before the draft and then hiring Brad Treliving away from Colorado or from Calgary, and thinking to myself, yeah, it can be a lot worse. You can make that timing significantly worse than announcing the process right now. But yeah, I mean, if we're looking at, the NHL draft at the end of June, you pretty much have to have your successor in-house, I mean, by the beginning of June, because you've also got to keep in mind that person has to make decisions about their assistant general managers. We've had the same three for a long time. If someone comes in from outside the organization, they are going to have their own, set of decisions to make. And, it's going to be a very interesting process, to say the least.
Yeah.
But wait, let me ask you this. And Chad, feel free to come into this too. I heard there was something going on. If Frank Saravalli tweeted this about some investigation of the search process that went on. Boy, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. So there's sort of a, and at some point we need to hand Frank Saravalli the little doll and ask him where the Preds hurt him, because I haven't heard him say a good thing about Nashville in an entire season, basically.
Yeah, he called him toxic.
Which has been widely refuted. He was on earlier this week and with Buchagras, and he was saying, like, what a great story Nashville would be. Everybody was burying them at the beginning of the season, and Frank was just like, well, I'm burying them. It's like, dude, like, who hurt you, man? But
right.
Anyway, I'm off topic. And so the story behind the NHLPA kind of, I don't want to call it an investigation, but they're looking into it. There is a rule within the NHL and the NHLPA that agencies that represent players cannot also represent executives, which has come a little bit into question because there are some of these agencies like CAA that have merged a little bit, and they're massive agencies. So to expect them to not have players and executives is kind of ridiculous. And in the NFL and the NBA, it is super common practice. All of those agencies represent players, coaches, executives, and it's really just in the NHL that there's this sort of dividing line. So the fact that CAA, being a massive agency, is running this executive search process when they have a lot of players among their roster, has sort of brought the process into question. My personal feeling is that a combination of Bill Haslam and Nick Saban will tell them to pound sand.
That's what Brandon here on Facebook's asking. How much input do you think Nick Saban will have in the GM search? Real quick. All right. 3.5 minutes left in overtime. The Wild have possession of the puck. We know how NHL overtime is evolved into these days. It's basically keep away. It can get frustrating to watch sometimes. How far ahead are you now?
3:05 left.
Okay, you're 6 seconds.
I'm a good 30 seconds behind you guys. Thanks, DirecTV. You're crushing it.
I'm watching it on my phone on ESPN Plus.
I got the FanDuel service.
All right, Preds have possession now. We're under 3 minutes with this whole keep away that we play in.
Oh my God!
In overtime these days.
Come on.
All right, there we go.
Come on,
shoot! Possession.
Oh.
Yeah, Luke Evangelista with the wrister. Good save by Gustafson. Give him credit there. All right, the Wild got the puck back. Ooh.
Oh, come on.
Right.
Come on.
Here we go. Max is saying, come on, I need Max to jump through the roof right now. Come on, Max.
Didn't happen that time.
Oh, Yossi had a little bit of an angle, but he elected to pass.
God, my heart is pounding right now.
The last couple of minutes of that game on Monday was some of the most stressed I've been watching hockey in a very long time.
It, man.
I mean, this is pretty much becoming.
I was living and dying in that game.
I mean, is there ever a dull Preds game anymore lately? I mean,
that was a cross check on Boldy.
I wondered about that. I know what you.
I mean, he went pretty high on his shoulders.
I'm just
will they
glad
call that in?
I'm just
Will they
so-
call that in overtime? No, but
I'm just
it
so
was-
thankful that this didn't end like the Boston game where they scored in 15 seconds.
that was
off the opening
miserable.
face.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
That was another comeback though, where they got the point at least. But all right, here we go. The Wild are going to play keep away, and they're going to try to get the. That's so annoying. That he's going to skate it all the way back behind his goalie, and it's not good hockey. They got to rehash these overtime rules.
Yeah,
This is painful to watch. Now I'm under a minute left.
They could make it so much more exciting if they just tweaked it a little bit. I also
I don't hate the idea of like if you cross no, that's no longer fun.
I believe Jared Spurgeon just scored.
Yeah. Yep. Wild score with 45 seconds left in overtime.
Man. Damn.
I want to see that shot real quick.
That's a bummer.
6-5 final.
Oh, nobody picked him up. What are you guys doing?
Jeez.
Tough night for Nick Blankenberg. You can see it on his face.
Yeah, man.
Not that this loss is all on him. Don't misquote me, anybody, but you can tell it rests heavy on him right now. The Wild are a good team. Preds hung with them. They're not going to be happy with the way they played their game tonight. I think those players are going back to the locker room and think we could have played so much better.
Yeah, that one,
that was a borderline, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was at the top of the numbers. To me, that's
I wouldn't want to get that call in overtime. I'll be honest.
Yeah, would I consider that a cross check? Yes.
Though. What a pass from Kaprizov to get it down the ice. I'll just call it like I see it. That was a really great down ice pass from Kaprizov to beat the defense, flip the ice. Would have been a very difficult save for Saros because Spurgeon was very deep in on the crease at that point. Just really good 3-on-3 hockey from Minnesota. Give them credit.
Yep.
They're a good team. They win 6-5. Preds get the point. We've got one game left, gentlemen, before the Olympics. And then we're going to really have to sit and think about where this team's at. But, hey, look, they get a point. Real quick before we close this one out, because my dog Sophia is going nuts, and she's like,
I've heard her.
She's like, you don't normally record for this long, and I'm over it. But let's see. So I don't think they've updated it. They had 58 points going into the night, correct?
Yes, that's right. So 59.
Sounds right.
So they're at 59, which temporarily puts them ahead of San Jose, but I'm not even sure if San Jose is playing tonight, but it does put them ahead of San Jose. It puts them 1 point behind LA, and it puts them 2 points behind Seattle. We're going to close it out with this. I want to see what the scores are around the league. So let's do that real quick, and then we're going to close this one out because we are coming up on 2 hours, and this has been an awesome watch party episode. They're always fun. I mean, they really are. I wanted to go
crazy at the end there. I wanted to go crazy.
I was waiting for you.
I wanted to go crazy.
All right, so the Sharks are in the second intermission, and they're losing 2-0 to Colorado. So there's that. Other wild card bubble teams in action right now. The Mammoth are up on the Red Wings 2-0. Stars are beating the Blues 3-2, which I wouldn't call the Blues a wild card bubble team anymore. Let's see, other teams that are kind of in the same. Ooh, this is a pretty important matchup to scoreboard watch. Kraken are beating the Kings 3-1 as they come up on the first intermission. We all know the Kings will end up pushing it to overtime. They'll get another overtime loss.
That was my exact comment last night with the Kraken and the Ducks, which was just however it ends, just make it regulation.
Exactly.
just don't make these 3-point games.
That's really it for the bubble teams. You do got some other games going on tonight. The Canadians beat the Jets 5-1. Blue Jackets shut out the Blackhawks 4-0. That is kind of when it comes to
those are actually relevant. Those
relevant.
Were teams that were pushing up a little bit. Yeah. So
Yep.
Both of them losing in regulation,
I think if
at least
really,
keeps them down a little bit.
If we want a scoreboard watch in terms of the Preds as they get a point tonight, we would like to see. I mean, Seattle and LA are 1 point separated, so I mean,
just end in regulation.
Yeah, it's kind of like you would just rather not both teams get points somehow, like Boyd just said. And then Utah, which I think Utah's a really good team. When Utah gets in the playoffs, I think they're going to be dangerous. But they're only 3 points ahead of the Preds right now, but they're taking care of business tonight, so it's looking like they're probably going to get the 2 points. But, yeah, that's kind of your scoreboard watching tonight. Very interesting note about the Central Division, everybody. Dallas and Colorado appeared to be running away with the top 2 for the longest time. Minnesota, guys, is now only 3 points behind Colorado. They have played 4 more games than Colorado, though. But just worth noting, worth watching. We thought Colorado was going to run away with it.
Yeah, Colorado scuffled a little bit of late over their last, 10 to 15 games, but
the fact that we took Minnesota to overtime, we were down 2-0, we could have folded, and it sucks to lose, but this Preds team still keeps proving to us that they are capable.
Turn around, take care of business tomorrow, and everybody goes to the Olympics happy.
And I think they can beat Washington. I do, especially after they're going to look in the mirror and they're going to think we played like garbage tonight, honestly, like especially defensively. We didn't protect our goaltender. Saros probably feels the same way. We're probably going to get used to Sonnen, obviously. But, yeah, I think these guys are going to come out really hungry before the Olympic break to prove something. So I'm excited to see that game against the Capitals to go into the Olympics break. Thank you, everybody, for joining this awesome watch party. One of the best ones we've ever had, honestly. And so many comments. Everyone had fun. You guys build the episode. When we do these watch parties, we can't do it without you guys. So thank you so much. If you watched the show today, hit subscribe. Please consider that if you'd like, and follow us on social media. Gentlemen, see you guys later. Thanks for a great 2-hour watch party episode.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Enjoy the Olympic break, guys. And one more thing. Are you guys doing okay with the ice storm?
I did just fine amazingly enough. I went to for the ice storm, like the onset of it. I went to my parents' place in Murfreesboro, didn't lose power there, and amazingly, my apartment was in the 10% or so of all town that didn't lose power. So I was exceedingly fortunate.
Yeah, lost a few trees, but thankfully they all stayed away from the house.
Where I am, I got back to Nashville. It was like a war zone.
Yeah, it's nasty out there.
Yeah.
But yeah. Same as you, thankfully never lost power, and on the other side of it now, and tomorrow I get to break out a chainsaw and hack some trees up, so we'll have a little fun with that.
All right. Yeah, it was tough for me to see that. I live down here in Florida now, but it kind of like reminded me of like down here in Florida, and when you're on the Gulf Coast, you deal with hurricanes. Well, an ice storm can do just as much damage as a hurricane. It was pretty scary. I have, my mom still lives in Nashville, so I was worried about her all weekend. And, when you saw the trees come down, you saw the power outages, and you saw the cold temperatures, I was definitely thinking about all of my Nashville friends out there. You're in my heart. You're in my prayers. Hope you guys can rebuild quick. And, if there's ways that our listeners want to figure out ways to help the Nashville people rebuild, there are plenty of reputable sites to go look that up and consider doing that if you can. But until then, everybody, take care, and we will get a new episode out to you in the next week or two. Take care, everybody. This has been Catfish and Ice, episode 288, live watch party episode with the Minnesota Wild narrowly beating the Predators 6-5 in a thrilling overtime game. Take care, everybody. Stay safe.
See you guys.